Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Business Courier. How this device will strongly impact how we consume goods and services in 2015. Saving money and creating jobs by replacing seats at Great American Ballpark. And Indian Motorcycles, a dealership plus more, is now open in our area. U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning and welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Peg Rasconi. On the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, what will consumers want in 2015? Well, that's a question for business leaders as they prepare for the new year. Also, 5 ways customers are changing. Empowered by their smartphones, consumers are exposed to rapidly changing information, so figuring out what they want is no easy task. Our area is the consumer brand capital of the world, so the Business Courier went to some experts to get some predictions for 2015. Among them, when it comes to brand identity, consumers want authentic, transparent, useful brands they feel connected to. The defining product of 2015 will once again be the smartphone, and mobile apps will improve in 2015. And we'll see more retail hyper-targeting. That's when a store knows so much about you, marketers send targeted coupons to your phone as soon as you walk in the door. Business Courier contributing writer Paula Christian wrote this story for the Business Courier and joins editor Rob Dawnmeyer in the studio with more on what experts are saying about the consumer outlook for 2015. Paula and Rob.
Thanks, Peg, and Paula, thanks for being here. When we talked about this story to begin with a little while back, one of the reasons that you really wanted to do the story is because there were so many experts in Cincinnati that can talk about where consumers are headed. And another thing real quick before I ask you the first question is that this isn't something that we're comparing next year with 10 years ago. This is comparing this year to next year, and so this is information that's changing as we speak. What were some of the things that you learned from some of these marketing experts that surprised you the most?
Well, I think that they are a little nervous because customers are really in charge next year. Figuring out how to please them is going to be a little bit more difficult. They're demanding, they're impatient, they want it now. Their smartphone has taught them to not wait for things, and a lot of times they don't even know what they want until they see it. You have to present them with something and then they think, oh, that's what I want. I didn't even know what I wanted.
So they have really, yeah, as you just said, that's a really high demand. I mean, if you think of just 10 years ago, the idea that we would get upset if somebody doesn't know what we want before we know it is a crazy thought. But let's talk a little bit about technology. Peg mentioned this, but smartphones are going nowhere but up as far as how important they've become. But what are some of the other ways next year maybe we'll see people using smartphones?
Well, some of our experts compared the smartphone to the remote control of our life or our personal concierge. So they will be doing everything from changing the thermostat in your house, locking your doors, running your dishwasher, to not only just comparison shopping on prices, but they will really be just running your life.
Right. And so one last question for you. When you talk about that technology and how people are going to use it, on the other side, our readers really, people are running businesses. What are some of the ways that they're going to try to use the fact that people can't live without that phone? What are they going to try to change?
Well, they are going to start creating more applications for the mobile phone to lure customers to get those applications so they can tap into all of their data and know what they're buying, when they're buying it, how much they're spending, and so they will know exactly what you need, again, before you need it.
So really, at the end of the day, it comes down to, I think, we want things right now. Companies know that, and they're trying to actually give us things 10 seconds before that. So
exactly.
We'll see what happens. But anyway, thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
Peg, back to you.
All right, thanks, Rob and Paula. A good read in the print edition. Hamilton County is replacing most of the seats at Great American Ballpark, and a Westchester company helped come up with a way to make it considerably cheaper. The county, which owns the stadium, eventually intends to replace more than 38,000 seats at a cost of $1.3 million. The job was originally quoted at $3.4 to $5 million after the county got 3 bids. So how did they shave off $2.1 million?
We kind of took the do-it-yourself approach and searched on the internet to try to find a molding company. We found a local Westchester company that was able to reverse engineer the seats molds, made us some molds, and made the connection with the Bowling Green company, Pinnacle Plastics, who actually could produce the plastic seats and backs.
In addition to using Bork mold specialists and Pinnacle Plastic products, the county is hiring employees from a Hamilton County offender re-entry program to install the new seats. Feldkamp expects the project to be finished by the All-Star game next year at the very latest. Moving to over the Rhine is proving lucrative for civil engineering firm Bayer Becker. After 2 years in OTR, Bayer Becker is expanding its location on Ray Street, doubling the size of its office. The expansion is possible because the Cincinnati Center City Development Corporation has moved to Walnut Street. Bayer Becker is also being asked to bid on more projects in the city of Cincinnati.
I think the expectations were that we would grow and we would develop relationships. We've not only met, but we've exceeded those expectations, growing what we expected well beyond where we thought we would be, working with architects, developers, etc., that are down in the city working.
Bayer Becker also has offices in Mason, Fort Mitchell, and Oxford. If the Greenpeace protest case had gone to trial, Procter & Gamble could have been the big loser. That's probably why company officials were instrumental in helping negotiate the plea deal that prosecutors offered recently to 8 Greenpeace activists. On March 4th, they rappelled down the side of P&G's Cincinnati headquarters to hang protest banners. The activists with the environmental advocacy group were originally charged with felony burglary and vandalism, which could have resulted in 9.5 years in prison if they had been found guilty at a jury trial. The Business Courier's Barrett Brunsman takes a deeper look at the punishment imposed and why P&G settled. You can read it in this week's print edition. A local man who works to get others elected to political office has opened a new consulting firm called Rivertown Strategies. Jared Camrus ran 2 of the most respected local Democratic campaigns over the last 2 years. Greg Landsman's bid for city council in 2013 and his brother Micah's race for the Ohio House in 2014. Neither candidate won, but both campaigns were successful at raising money, which is a critical part of ultimately getting elected.
So my first job when I was in high school, I worked as a telemarketer for a market research firm, and it quickly teaches you, being comfortable with asking people and having people say no.
Jared Camrus grew up in Blue Ash in a family that placed a high premium on community involvement and service. His dad, Lewis, is senior rabbi at the Isaac M. Wise Temple, and his mom is a teacher. Our Book of List question this week is, who were the top 5 individual political donors in the tri-state during the most recent election cycle? Stay with us to see the answers a little bit later. Well, the old waterfront restaurant site in Covington may come back to life. There are plans to open a rowing facility that will be open to the public on the site. The Queen City Water Sports Center is the brainchild of Pedro Palacios, who rowed for the Mexican national team, owns No Limit Rowing, and coaches rowing at Cincinnati Country Day. Queen City Water Sports Center would be a floating dock and boathouse anchored where the waterfront used to be. Palacios says it will serve several purposes.
One of them is going to be rowing, canoeing, kayaking, dragon boating. And in all of these activities, the whole idea is that Queen City Water Sports Center is going to contribute a lot to the community with our inner city boys and girls programs.
Covington has kicked in about $50,000 for an engineering study. It's far from a done deal, but Palacios is raising matching money to make his dream happen. There's a new place in town to buy motorcycles, but don't call it just a dealership. American Heritage Motorcycles Cincinnati opened last week in Loveland. They sell the classic Indian brand as well as Victory motorcycles. The showroom is in an old Volkswagen dealership. Part of the space showcases Indian motorcycles, while the former service space has been renovated into a showroom for the Victory motorcycles.
the dealership isn't a motorcycle dealership. An Indian dealership's a destination. It's a ride destination. It's a place to make friends with other riders. So it brings a whole other characteristics to a motorcycle dealership than being a motorcycle shop.
American Heritage Motorcycles also has dealerships in Chicago and Cleveland. Martin says clubs, events, and charity projects will originate from that Cincinnati dealership. Well, up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, are changes coming to the iconic radio station that brings us these fabulous fireworks every year. And Business Courier readers like to follow the local teams. We'll tell you the sports news that has people clicking on the website. Some news now that's getting a lot of attention on the Business Courier website and social media sites. It looks like the owners of Cincinnati's most iconic FM rock station, WEBN, are contemplating a big change. iHeartMedia registered for a website for 102.7 The Beat with the domain name, thebeatcincy.com. The company uses that name, The Beat, for hip-hop stations in other markets such as Toledo. The website, as you can see on the screenshot, advertises throwback hip-hop and R&B and displays a picture of Cincinnati's skyline. The website was taken down after the Business Courier started to make some calls. A family dispute between the owners of Heidelberg Distributing has led to a lawsuit accusing family members of corporate waste, excessive salaries, and misappropriation of assets. Albert Vance, seen here, is Heidelberg's president, co-chairman, and 50% shareholder. He is suing his sister Carol Miller, who also owns 50% of Heidelberg stock. Heidelberg is one of the Midwest's largest beer distributors with 1,600 employees and 26,000 retail clients. Conference talk is happening at UC. UC officials met with the Big 12 about potentially joining that conference. That report comes from Mike DeCourcy, who happens to live in Cincinnati and is one of the most respected national college basketball writers. But other than that, little else is known at this time. And also in sports, lots of interest in the Cincinnati Reds trade that sent Matt Latos to the Miami Marlins and Alfredo Simon to the Detroit Tigers. The Reds got two prospects, an infielder and a pitcher in the trade. Reports say Reds general manager Walt Jocketty said the team's payroll will be on the rise in 2015, even though some moves, including the trades, have been made to cut costs. A new bar and restaurant concept called 2 Bits, with an emphasis on eclectic foods and gaming, is coming here to the Banks next year. It'll be located in the spot that housed WG Kitchen and Bar, which closed last week. 2 Bits features classic bar food, but also more eclectic food like charred octopus and tofu hoagies. WG Kitchen and Bar is the second Banks eatery to close at the Banks in the last 3 months. So, are you getting a lot of emails from your employer about making elections or changing investment options to next year's 401k? Navigating those end-of-year questions is the topic for this morning's U.S. Bank Economic 360. Mindy McLaughlin, Senior Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager for U.S. Bank, joins Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio. Mindy and Kelly.
Thanks, Peg. Hi, Mindy. Thanks
Hello.
for being here.
Great to be here.
So, recommendations. We need recommendations. How much should we contribute to our 401k?
Sure. 401ks are an awesome investment vehicle. One of the few that we have, I think, that really makes a lot of sense. And the IRS just changed the amounts for next year. So for 2015, individuals can contribute up to $18,000 of their salaries into their 401k. I know that sounds like a big number for a lot of people, and sometimes that's difficult to do, but at the very least, I always suggest that individuals at least contribute whatever your company matches. A lot of companies are generous and will match you up to 4 or 5% of your base salary, so you should at least try to do that, but if you can do the full 18, it's a great way to do it pre-tax.
Yeah. What about, does age matter? What if you're over age 50?
It does. It does. Yeah, the $18,000 is for individuals who are under age 50.
Oh, okay.
And if you turn 50 or are older, the IRS kind of recognizes that it's tough to save when you're younger, and so they have what they call catch-up contributions. And so they permit larger amounts. It's $24,000 for next year that you can defer into your 401k. And, you know, again, that's a big number too, but really with income tax rates, you know, having risen over the recent past, if you look at kind of the net after tax, you'd be surprised it doesn't really impact the bottom line quite as much.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good advice. And then once you make that contribution, what about investing? What kind of funds do you recommend?
Sure. Most companies today have outsourced that function. You know, they have plan administrators and companies that handle the investments. And in my experience, I've seen a pretty limited selection that employees get to choose from when they do their investments. Usually what you see is a stable value fund, which is like a money market fund. You'll see a bond fund, probably a large company domestic stock fund, maybe an international fund. And if you're lucky, you'll get the choice of a real estate fund, which did really well this year, or perhaps a small company fund, which tends to be more growth oriented. But the big thing that I've seen come about in the recent past is they have what they call target retirement funds now, target date funds. So for example, if you're going to retire in the next 5 years, you might want to look at what's called a Target 2020 fund. These are funds that are kind of pre-mixed and managed for you. So for somebody that's not really that interested in it, this might be a good option. And the one thing, though, that I would caution you is certainly if you're going to retire in the near future, some of those target date funds will be pretty heavy in bonds, and I know we've talked about this on the show before. You know, bond funds never mature, and so if rates rise, which we are expecting, you could suffer some principal loss. So I always suggest that whenever a company has like their contractor come in to talk about 401ks, that the employees go to those, you know, make sure you talk to somebody or go to the website and call so that you really know what you're invested in, and they can help you, you know, guide that a little bit further. But don't miss that match at the very least. That so many people don't do it, and that's free money. You don't want to lose
another thing for us to think about too at the end of the year. With
I know,
so much
but you got to do it.
But you got to do it. Great advice. Have a wonderful Christmas.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you to you and to U.S. Bank for all you do for us here at the show and the community.
Great. Thanks.
Peg, back to you.
All right, thanks, Kelly, and good advice from Mindy. And more good advice still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch from the Better Business Bureau, right in time for last-minute Christmas shopping. Stay with us. In this morning's Business Insight, consumer protection. At the top of the program, we talked about consumer behavior from a marketing point of view. Now some advice to help you help and protect yourself. And who better to turn to than the local Better Business Bureau? Michael Dawson, Vice President of Marketing and Public Relations, joins Business Courier publisher Jamie Smith in the studio. Gentlemen.
Thanks, Peg. Mike, thanks for being here today.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
You know, as we talk a lot about the Christmas shopping season, it's almost over. I think so often people think of the Better Business Bureau always after the fact. You know, I've had a bad experience, I had something I've got to fix, I got to go see the BBB. Talk a little bit about it and why they should see you guys before they have the bad experience.
It's true that we are known for our complaint resolution, but more and more people are coming to the BBB to find out information about businesses and services before making a purchase. The BBB serving Cincinnati has over 55,000 business reviews, and people come to our website, they'll look up a business, they can find out a lot of information, they can leave a consumer review if they like, they can even do what we call a request a quote program where they can fill out what service they might need or product they're looking for and select businesses, and it goes out to them via email or a text message, and then the company will respond back to them.
Right. And once a company gets a complaint, they have so long to fix that complaint, correct?
Yes, they do. And accredited businesses have to respond to the complaint, and we hope all businesses do, but sometimes you get one or two that won't do that.
Right. So, well, now that we are in the season where we're making a lot of purchases and sometimes very large purchases, what do you do once you've had that problem? You know, what should I do as far as the BBB?
Oh, if you have a problem?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we recommend that you talk to the store or the company where you've had the service or work done and see if you can resolve it with them first. And if that doesn't work, you can either go to our website and file a complaint, you can call in, or you could even stop in our office if you would like.
Okay, great. And anything else that you guys are doing that are, that's kind of new and improved than what the old BBB used to not do?
I think the fact that we really look to be a source of information and to help consumers make an educated purchase decision, I think that seems to be our focus.
Right.
The new item for us is the fact that we now do the request a quote via text message. Many of the companies that work around the house, your remodelers, plumbers, whatever, they carry a smartphone. They don't go home and get on the computer. So we want to reach out to them in a method that they use and expect.
Yeah, well, we had our interview in our first segment today was more about how people are using their smartphone in business and in pleasure. And I know the BBB has an app, and I went on there very quickly, just looked real quick, looked my business up to see, do I have any complaints? And it's amazing how easy it is to get on there and see that.
It is easy, and in fact, mobile usage is going up. We look at our analytics every month, and although web visits is certainly the largest segment, but the mobile segment is growing at a faster rate.
Oh, excellent. Well, hopefully none of our friends have to use you guys this week, but if they do, at least we now know that they have a great resource there. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for doing all the work that you guys do. And I know we put that symbol up on our window with pride, and I know a lot of companies do.
I noticed Local 12 had their plaque out in the lobby.
See, absolutely. Well, listen, I hope you have a great holiday.
Thank you very much,
and we hope to have you back on the show again sometime soon.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Peg, back to you.
All right, thanks, Jamie and Michael, and thank you for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday and every Sunday morning at 6:30 here on Local 12 and 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news all week long, you can visit the Business Courier online and sign up for daily emails and follow on Twitter and Facebook. The address is cincinnatibusinesscourier.com. I'm Peg Rasconi. Have a great Sunday and a very happy holiday.